sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's up, Internet? It's your boy JG from Auburn. Oh, wrong side. auburnsports.com. I'm the publisher over there, the Commodore, as some would say. And I'm joined today, of course, by Neal McGreefy from rebelgroves.com, the Ole Miss stop on the Rivals train railroad. Yeah, Rivals Railroad.
Rivals
the
Railroad.
Ole Miss stop in Oxford, Mississippi. You can check out Neal McGreefy and his top lieutenant, Chance the Yapper, there at rebelgroves.com. And, of course, we're joined also by Mr. Gabriel. You may know him as Gabe at the Missouri Power, the Power of Missouri.com. No, I'm just kidding, powermizzou.com. We love Gabe, and we think Gabe's the greatest. And I also want to say, before we get started on the show officially, that so we went to Gatlinburg last weekend, and I spent some time hanging out with some people that listen to the show who are not Auburn people. They just kind of listen to the show because they find this entertaining. And they love some Gabe now. I didn't realize how much the people, just capital T, capital P, the people love Gabe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gabe's more popular than Neal and me.
I feel like Gatlinburg has come up on this broadcast before.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to eat.
I feel like we've discussed it. Yeah.
A lot of places to eat, a lot of places to poop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey now.
So the guys hanging out by the Johnnies, they like me, huh?
This was girls. So
this is a new development in my life.
Oh wow, this is a new thing for Gabe.
This has suddenly become something I'm more interested in.
Yeah, they're girls, so
good deal.
I don't know if that affects you one way or another, but
not really.
All right, let me post. I got to post this. It's just that we're using a new OBS. I'm using Streamlabs this time. Those of you who follow streaming and stuff, I'm using the Streamlabs product now that they have for the Mac, and I'm a little nervous about it because I'm not 100% sure that it's working the way that I want it to, but we're doing our best. At least we tried. Okay.
I'm trying to find the link. I've got it up on my phone, but I'm trying to find a way to share it. I'm struggling so far. Oh, there it is.
All right, just posted to Auburn Sports.
All right.
I'm now headed to Rebel Groves.
I'll just copy the link from your board and post it on my board.
That'd be swell.
Because I try to help out when I can.
Do you think there's people that over there that care about this show? Are there? There probably are.
There are some, yeah. Not as many as in Gatlinburg, but there are some.
Well, I mean, yeah, we don't have you on as much as we would like, you know.
Yeah. I'm got a lot of obligations.
Okay, so you're going to put it on the Power of Mizzou board?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I will do that.
Corny Mofo in the chat says Branson is Gatlinburg, and therefore Gatlinburg is Branson. I don't know how I feel about that, but there are some similarities, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if either place should take that necessarily as a compliment.
Hey now. Oh boy, okay. I didn't actually spend a lot of time in Gatlinburg, although technically our cabin was in Gatlinburg, but we were above it, up on the mountain, and I only went down to proper Gatlinburg, the Strip, or whatnot, twice, and it was an adventure. Not a lot of masks, more than I thought there would be, but still not nearly enough.
Double digits?
Percentage?
No, just total.
Oh, no. Yeah, I would say it was probably half. 1/3 to half of people were wearing masks, and then the other half or 2/3 were not. And I certainly was. And there's people that are going to call me a snowflake and say, JG, you're letting the news media control the way you behave, and I don't really care.
I briefly considered checking the price to get some PowerMizzou.com masks made, but I didn't do it.
Was it expensive?
I don't know. I didn't even check the price. I just thought about it.
Oh.
And then decided not to.
Do we have a chance can we get
Campbell
Rebel
found out this morning that 4 of her 5 classes are remote.
So that's not great, right?
It's not great.
100% tuition for 20% class? That's how that works?
That's how that works.
Yeah, that's...
I've yet to be informed of a cut in the tuition price.
Oh, that's not going down. No chance.
I tend to agree with you there, Gabe. I can hold out hope, but I agree.
Yeah, that's criminal there.
I think so too. All right, still working on this situation here. We'll make sure that we're good, that folks on the chat on the stream can hear us. And everything sounds good for them. It looks good here on my feedback for the actual podcast tape. So, Gabriel, I mentioned on the show last week that you kind of had some stuff going on personally last week that prevented you from being on the show, because we love you being on the show. Obviously, all the women clamor for it.
Obviously.
Do you want to talk about that, or do you not want to talk about
that? What was last week that
you had some
personally?
You had some concerns.
No, it was 2 weeks ago. You're thinking about the week that I was gone.
Oh,
Jay.
yeah. The week he was gone.
Oh, yeah. No, my son tested positive for the COVID. Is that what we're discussing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, no, he did. So somebody at he got an email that somebody at his work had it, and so they all had to go get tested, and like he had no symptoms, nothing like that. We took him, he's 17, tested positive. And so then we locked down for 12 days. Janelle and I both got tested. Both were negative, which we were kind of torn about that. Like, we wanted to be negative, but at the same time, we kind of just wanted to have it and have no symptoms and think maybe we were done with it. But yeah, I kind of hit a point at that point that I was like, I'm not real interested in hearing what people think about this that are not, doctors and all that. So I took a little break from society for a few days, and we moved on. Everybody's fine. No ill effects, no symptoms other than sore throat for a couple days, all that. But that was all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here, Gabe.
Yes. I'm glad I'm here.
Neal loves you.
Glad you remain with us.
Yes, as am I. I can't say if my wife and son feel the same way. They're glad they're here. I don't know if they're glad I'm here.
It just depends on your insurance situation.
And it just kind of depends on the day, really.
That's true.
Some days they like me. Some days I'm not as good.
Yeah. What beers have you had? You said you've had 2.5. You're working on your third adult beer.
This is a batch 300 from Broadway Brewery here in Columbia. It's very solid.
They're one of your sponsors, right? Broadway Brewery?
No, they are not, but if we can make a pitch to them to be, that's a possibility.
Let's talk to them. We need a brewery.
Boulevard Brewery in Kansas City is one of my sponsors.
Boulevard. I knew you had a brewery sponsor.
Yes. They will I ride frequently with Boulevard Brewery.
Kansas City is an underrated town, man. I love that place.
Yeah.
I do. I love KC. KC's cool.
Cool.
Good barbecue, good beer. And what else do you need, really?
Well, exactly.
Neal said last week he's really glad that you're okay, Gabe, because he hates to think of a world where you're not in it. I thought that was really sweet.
I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of hate to think of that world too. that world seems worse to me. Hey, Neal, Kansas City's going to be your favorite town this summer, though. They play the Cardinals and Brewers 10 times.
Yeah, I'm going to be a Royals fan this summer if it ends up being pertinent.
If you find out any of the players that are on the Royals, let me know who they are.
Jorge Soler?
I know him. I know Alex Gordon.
Yeah.
I don't really know much else.
Whit Merrifield?
Yes.
Yeah, Merrifield's still there because the Cubs have been trying to trade for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about the Salvi's back. He had the Rona. He's back though.
Can we talk about Dan Wolken?
Yeah, sure.
Jay, I feel like you're the best equipped to talk about that.
No, I'm probably the worst equipped. I saw it on our secret board that we post on sometimes. Everybody was really worked up about it. And if he was shitting on fraternities, I'm ready to have at it though.
Yeah, he said anything that takes fraternities down is a good thing. Like if that ends up being a side effect of COVID that he's in, it's a very predictable take on Wolken's part.
I thought that we as sports writers, many of us were in fraternities and therefore would be champions of the fraternity experience, right?
I mean, I was in a fraternity and didn't like it. It wasn't for me, but I think it is for most people, or for a lot of people. And I've posted this on my message board. I think it requires an incredible level of insecurity for one to say that something, just because it didn't fit them, or just because it wasn't something they wanted to do, that it's not a good thing for other people. Does that make sense? I mean, that's incredibly ignorant.
I enjoyed my time in a fraternity, but I understand there are people who that's not their thing. And like, I didn't look down on anybody who wasn't in one.
Of course not. I mean, it's like joining. It's like, for some people, the military is a perfect career. It's an absolute perfect fit, and for other people, a military obligation is just it's a nightmare. It doesn't fit their personality at all. I don't know if that's the best example in the world, but for some people, a fraternity is an absolute lease on life, and for some people, a fraternity is not necessary.
Avery F. from Rebel Groves says Dan didn't get a bid, which is the truest thing we've heard yet.
Yes.
No doubt.
I did see a headline a couple weeks ago that said there was some study that said fraternity houses could be a hot spot for the virus. I mean, you think? Like, yeah, that's possible. I think that makes some sense.
Yeah, but I mean,
not breaking news here.
But lots of places could be hot spots for the virus.
I'm not saying we need to shut it down, but a bunch of college dudes getting hammered and trying to hook up with girls could be a hot spot for the virus. Yeah, that's possible.
Corny says,
it's like there was one at the Sigma Chi house here, and it's because they were passing around vapes and the same bottle and doing beer bongs off the same. So yeah, I mean, but that they could have, had they been in a hotel room, that would have been a hot spot. It wouldn't have mattered.
Are you guys about ready to start this bad boy?
Oh, had we not already started?
Oh, yeah, I'm.
Corny Mofo says frats are for the insecure. That's weak, dude. Of course, when I was 18, I was a little more insecure than I am today, so kiss my ass.
I think people who say frats are for the insecure are insecure. Unless he donated money to Jay's Super Chat, then fully on board with the comment.
Then we're fully on board with everything Corny has to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a brain drainer for sure, and we appreciate the support, sir.
So we're just going to kind of wing today's show. We got a lot to talk about. We're just going to see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's the best plan. Okay. And hey, ahead of next show, you got to give me a reader so we can break it up a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll do that.
And Jay now has this to say about Cathead Distillery. Hey, guys, this is JG. And I want to talk to you for a minute about Cathead Distillery in Jackson, Mississippi. Makers of Hoodoo Trickery Liqueur, Cathead Honeysuckle, Bristow Gin, and many other fine products, including their Comfort and Mercy hand sanitizer. See what I mean? Let's see how.
Why don't you do that ad? Why don't you do that ad during the show? I'll toss it to you. You've got it.
At the end, you need to add any questions or comments. Please call 1-900-J-Tate.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
1-900. Are those numbers still a thing?
Were they ever a thing,
I can
Neal?
legitimately say I've never called one.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. Ready? What episode is this, Jay?
It's 107, sir.
107. All right. Here we go. 3, 2. Welcome into episode number 107, Greatest Pod in the South, sponsored by Automation and Control Systems, LLC. I'm Neal McCready in Oxford, Mississippi. One J.G. Tate is back from Gatlinburg. He appears to be safe and sound. He is in Montgomery, Alabama, and our longtime friend and fellow Rivals.com colleague, Gabriel, you might know him as Gabe DeArmond, is joining us today as well from Columbia, Missouri, just outside of Joplin. So we'll talk about a number of things today on the show. Gabe is going to probably talk about some things that happened to him. We're going to talk about Jay's trip to Gatlinburg, social media, Jay's friend Dan Wolkin.
No.
And Dan Wolkin joins us as well. I'm kidding. We'll talk about a number of those.
That would actually be the second greatest pod in the South.
Yes.
If Dan was on with us.
So Dan, what would you like to talk about today? First, let me tell you about ACS. It's owned by Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi, established in 2013. ACS is a complete electrical control systems solution provider and a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. They have a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL 508A panel shop. They can custom tailor software packages, custom design electrical control panel solutions, and much more. ACS is a full-service AutoCAD services provider and a full-service fiber optic cabling solution provider. So if you're in need of custom HMI and SCADA solutions or large horsepower VFD specialist, ACS has you covered. ACS can service and install Rockwell Automation, Allen Bradley, Siemens, ABB, Square D, and many other manufacturers. For more information or to get in touch with ACS, go to www.acsllcms.com. That's acsllcms.com, or call 662-601-4381. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for our buddy Corey Clark. Because remember, Corey kind of kept this going for a while. So all we ask of you is next time you're in the market for a vehicle, next time you think you're in the market for a vehicle, just call, get a quote. At the very least, it's going to be a starting point for you moving forward, sort of a little insurance policy so you don't get screwed over somewhere else. And at the very most, you're going to find out that you can get a Clark Ford, great deal, great service. Corey really wants to be your car guy, really wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove that to you. 662-257-1900. Gabriel, Jay, how are you all?
Hi.
I'm good.
It's great to have Gabriel here. We missed you, Gabriel.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I missed you guys, but I text with you some, so
Yeah, you do. You do. We text each other on the text machines. I have one right here. It's made by Apple Computer. You may have heard of them. But
not familiar with their products.
you were gone from the show for 3 weeks, and it was sad.
I was.
Because I love having you on the show, but there were a superseding issue involved. Would you like to talk about that, Gabriel?
We can talk about that briefly. Yeah, my son tested positive for the Rona. Been about 3 weeks now, something like that. So we were in isolation for 12 full days, which was, I wouldn't recommend that. I don't know if you guys have done that recently. It's not the most fun thing ever. But
you didn't go anywhere, right?
I mean, like, I took walks. I drove a couple times, but no, we got groceries delivered. Like, literally did not go inside a building other than our house for 12 days. None of us.
So Dan couldn't visit or anything.
Yeah, nobody could come hang out with us. We saw each other, and that was it. And so we got, I guess, released last Thursday, something like that. And we've actually been like super careful since then, because what that made me realize, and what that made my wife realize, is we don't want to have to do this again, because she and I both tested negative. Like, somehow that's the weird thing about this virus. Like, it's this super spreading thing, right? But we literally live with him and we did not get it. So whatever. But we decided at that point, like, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're going to have to shut ourselves in the house for 2 more weeks. So we're still being pretty careful about what we're doing.
I'm glad that you didn't get sick, Abe.
I'm glad I wasn't. Well, we've talked about this for a long time.
I would have almost rather, if I knew one of my kids had it and I was going to be basically in quarantine for 14 days, I think I'd rather just go ahead and get it.
We talked about that, actually. Like, we both thought, we went to get tested and we thought, we kind of want to test negative, but we kind of want to have it. Right. And just, hey, we have no symptoms and we're all okay. And maybe that means we're not going to get it again. But no, I wasn't worried about my son. I mean, he had very few symptoms. He was mostly fine. We've talked for a long time. Like, I'm not really worried about me. I'm not concerned I'm going to die from this. But what what concerned me about that was the day before he found out he had to get tested, I was up at my parents' house, and they're 70 years old. And so if I'd already gotten this and I somehow passed it to them, there were 5 days there where I was sitting wondering, like, man, have I just kind of accidentally done something that's not very cool? And that's how this, I don't know. That's my whole perspective on the whole thing changed when I found out he got it. Like, I'm not trying to shut down society, but I do understand the concerns people have, because the way it spreads is you don't know you have it. And then you go hang out with other people, and who knows how many other people get it because you didn't know you had it.
It's a good point, Gabe. I happen to know somebody here in Montgomery who didn't handle things as responsibly as you did. And in the between getting tested and then actually receiving the results, she was out and about doing her own thing. And that's probably not being a responsible.
There was somebody that worked with my older son who, his parents had it. He just went to work and didn't tell anybody. And so they all had to go get tested. I mean, and that's how this happens, and whatever. I'm not trying to get into a whole thing about it, but
sure.
Like there's, my perspective changed a couple weeks ago. I'll just say that.
All right. Well, that's great, Gabe. We're glad to hear it.
There were a lot of women in Gatlinburg who were hoping I was on the podcast, apparently. So
yes, I had a chance while I was in Gatlinburg to speak with some of our friends who are gals, and it turns out that Gabriel probably is the most popular person on the whole show among that subset of folks.
I mean, let's be honest, that didn't catch you off guard, Jay.
Well,
you probably knew that, right?
I thought I was
Given
pretty
my
cool.
past history, I'm stunned that I didn't have like a female fan club. Frankly, that's a first. I've usually beat them off with the stick. So I'm glad that you have that burden now, Gabe.
Even Laura's favorite person on the show is Jay. So
yeah, that's for sure.
She loves those olives.
She does. She had the olives out last night. I said, "Are you thinking about Jay?" And she's like, "Always." I mean, just point blank. She had all sorts of kind of olives out. She just, yeah.
This is great news. Can't wait to get back to Oxford. So it seemed like the scouting report on Gabe was, we like Gabe. He tells it like it is, which I thought Neal and I did a pretty good job of, but that's cool. And we just think Gabe's really funny and he makes us laugh. So.
Jay, let's be honest. They like my hair, right? If we could get the reverse camera angle here, me and Neal would so outpace you and fans of this show.
Looks like first of all, we got a couple super chats that came through on our video stream. One from Webb Moore, who is one of the great Rebel Grovers, in my opinion. And Webb wants to know: is Tommy Tuberville going to face 10 years in prison for taking down Confederate monument Jeff Sessions? Hey now. I don't think so, because he's going to write the rules to avoid that. But anyway, to be serious, Tommy Tuberville, the former Auburn coach and former Ole Miss coach, did win his runoff in the GOP Senate primary here in the state of Alabama, won it by a landslide. And so it's going to be him against Doug Jones, who is himself a Democrat, for the U.S. Senate in November. Big time win for Tommy. I'm not surprised.
He's going to win.
Oh, he's going to win.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win.
Jay, and both of you guys have lived in Alabama, so I'm fascinated by this thing. Which one is more important to people in, say, maybe the Alabama fans? That he once coached Auburn, or that he is a Republican?
He's whatever it takes to win. I think Neal would agree with me on that. I mean,
yeah, he's
all about winning.
It's a really Republican
except
state.
When he was at Cincinnati. He wasn't whatever it took to win it.
Was he a Democrat? Was he a Democrat when he was at Cincy?
Well, he just didn't win.
He just didn't win a lot. Well,
as much as he should.
Some of the stuff from the Alabama Democratic Party kind of going after him was hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Like he lost to Vanderbilt.
I liked the only person he can score 46 points on is Jackie Sherrill. That was good.
Yeah. Who was the running back for Arkansas that used to just have a field day with Auburn? Fred Talley. They brought Fred Talley up. A kid from running back at Arkansas who ran for like 230 yards one day or something against Auburn. It was just hilarious.
Tommy, he's pandered to President Trump the whole way. I mean, it's as much as he could possibly do, and that eventually yielded endorsement from the president. And down here, that carries a lot of weight. So at that point, I knew he was going to win anyway. But I think once Trump jumped on that Tuberville train, that was it. And he won by like 25 or 30 points. So he had that comfortably. In our state, Doug Jones is one of our U.S. senators right now. He's a Democrat. He was the first Democrat elected in our state in a minute. And he was able to win last time because he was running against Roy Moore, who's a very polarizing candidate. In general, even though Doug Jones is a good dude, I don't think anyone can argue he's a bad guy, because we're talking about a guy who was a lawyer on behalf of the murdered children in the 60s and stuff like that. I mean, this is a really good dude. But as a Democrat in this state, with Tommy being a Republican in this state, Tommy's almost certainly going to win this election. And it's going to be cool that me and McCready and some other folks that have covered Tommy back in the 90s are going to know a guy who's a U.S. senator. I mean, that's pretty cool, I think. Well, man's
he was so media friendly. From a completely different era. I mean, he used to come back in that media workroom in Auburn, and we would be on deadline, and he's like wanted to hang out and talk. It was total opposite of how it is today with coaches. I mean, I can remember Charles Goldberg at one point looking at Tommy Tuberville, no joke, like 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night or whatever it was. Tommy, we've got a ride.
I mean, don't you have something to do, Tommy? I mean, come on, man.
You're in the way. Don't you have a recruit to call or something?
So that's kind of how it went with Tommy. Gallenberg trip was a success, guys. I did not get sick. I did drink a lot. That's probably the most I've ever consumed in a 3-day period, including our trips to the Caribbean. I brought a lot of bourbon. Because I thought I was helping, and then the other guys brought a lot of bourbon, and so we had a huge, we're talking about 15 bottles of bourbon, and I felt like it was a challenge for me to try to drink as much as I could, so I drank a lot.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well done.
We had 21 humans in the house. That was 10 adults and 11 kids. I think it was 9 bedrooms, may have been 10 bedrooms, plus a bunch of bunk beds. We had a Golden Tee game. We had a video machine. It had like Pac-Man, Galaga, et cetera, et cetera. We had a pinball machine. We had an air hockey machine. We had cornhole. We had life-size Jenga, and then we had lots and lots of bourbon, plus Cards Against Humanity. We got that too.
So social distancing.
Nah, didn't happen as much. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, you got 21 people in a 3-story cabin. I mean, you're kind of hanging out, but it seemed like everything's fine. A lot of we had folks from Maryland, which is still closed. We went out to eat one time. We ate out in Pigeon Forge, and we had an entire dining room to ourselves. The way that it worked out, so we couldn't have been more safe. But that was the first time they had dined out since COVID hit. So think about that. It's crazy. Was that 4 months?
Yeah,
5 months. They hadn't eaten out. So that was their. I
haven't gone to a restaurant since then. Like, I've ordered out, but I haven't sat in a restaurant since March.
Are you serious?
100%.
Neal, please tell me you have, right?
When we went to Florida, we went to a couple of places. We went for breakfast one place the first day, and then we went out to dinner at an outdoor place somewhere in Seagrove or wherever we were. That's the only time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I went to a brewery and had a beer on a patio. I ate at a golf course one time, but like I haven't gone out to a restaurant since, I don't know, February, early March.
I must have missed the memo, because I went out to lunch today. I went out to dinner last night. Like I go out commonly.
I would, but I also feel like I would rather pick the food up and bring it back to my house. Like, this is a good thing. I'm good with takeout.
Have you gone out to eat a lot, Jay? And when you do, does it cross your mind, or are you able to enjoy yourself?
Oh, I definitely enjoy myself. I don't have any concerns now. I always wear my mask in, and I actually wear my mask at the table a lot of the time, and you can't have it on and eat. But I wear my mask a lot when we're in, and I have no concerns about it at all. I honestly feel like I wear my mask. The people that are serving me are always wearing a mask. I wash my hands a bunch. I use the hand sanitizer, Comfort and Mercy. I use that a lot. I always have some with me. My wife has it in her purse. I have it in my car. I use it all the time. I just feel like I'm doing what I can do. So I think it'll be all right. Webb is joking on the chat. This says Jay is doing the Rona challenge, but I mean, I'm not. I'm doing the things that Dr. Fauci told me to do. I'm staying away from large crowds because here in Alabama, these tables are spread way out. I bet they've cut capacity by 2/3. I mean, I went to a place last night called Summer's Place here in Montgomery, and I mean, usually the tables are pretty tight in there. There were six total tables in the entire dining room, and normally there would be 15 maybe. So, I mean, there's a lot of space between tables, and I mean, it just seems as safe as it's going to be. So
let me ask you guys this. You can tell me whether you think we were good parents or bad parents here. So Campbell's supposed to go back to Fayetteville August the 7th. So a couple weeks. And this weekend, she'd had this trip planned to Austin. One of her sorority sisters is from Austin, and a bunch of them were going to get together. And they were going to, one of their dads has a lake house, and they were basically going to go to the lake. I guess it's, Lake Travis or whatever in Austin. Yeah. And they were just going to, be college kids, probably have some Bible study and some stuff like that. And no, I mean, they were going to drink those wine cooler drink things, this whatever, and Skinny Girl and stuff. And I'm sure they were going to play on the water. But yesterday, a couple of the girls pulled out of it, COVID related concerns, because you're getting up close to the stuff. And Campbell's involved in Rush, this time on the other side of Rush than she was a year ago. And so Laura said last night, are we being bad parents by letting you go? Because I was going to drive her up to Memphis. She was flying Memphis to Chicago to Austin because that's the only way she could get there.
It's the most direct flight.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's how you get to Austin from Memphis. You drive to Illinois and then go over. But anyway, so, she has a 2-hour layover at Midway in Chicago and all that stuff. And all I said to her was, it's kind of risk reward. I mean, there's more risk flying and being in airports and going to Austin than there would be if you just hung here, and rode the Peloton and chilled for a couple of weeks. She finished her 2 online classes today, so she's done until in a couple of weeks. And I think she was kind of irritated with us because I think she felt like we were trying to tell her not to go. And I told her, I said, look, if you want to go, I'll drive you to Memphis and you can go. But just understand that if you get it, you're not going to find out about it until you get back, realistically. And that's going to put you into August. And if you get it, you're going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks and you're going to miss Rush. And so it's risk reward. Is the reward worth the risk? And I don't think she's going to go. In fact, I'm 99% sure she's made up her mind not to go now. And then I kind of felt bad about it. I'm like, you're taking a trip away. She was going to go see her friends. And
no, man,
I don't know.
You're being a parent.
She's at the age where, it's time to, hey, you got to make your own decisions. Here's the information we can provide. My son, my older one, he turns 23 in about 3 weeks. Janelle and I are thinking about going up to Sioux Falls and seeing him for his birthday. We have not seen him since Christmas. We're thinking about going up for a couple days for his birthday. And now I'll be honest, kind of the other side of this is, look, I know for 100% fact, he and his friends have not been following all the rules. They're 22 years old. There's zero chance they've been doing everything they should have done. So do we go up there and see him? There's nothing wrong. You didn't tell her she couldn't go.
No, I told her.
You just said, here's the information. You decide. And I actually feel like there's been a lot of times raising kids where I'm like, I'm just going to give them the information and let them make the decision. And then you sit there and go, well, I am absolutely stunned that a 14-year-old kid did not make the right decision, right? I don't know how this happened. I gave him all the information and he still fucked it up.
Well, I mean, I told her, I said, I've stopped going to, my gym membership ran out June the 30th and I haven't renewed it yet because I didn't want to get it in July or early August and me be the reason she couldn't go back to Rush. And so I told her, I'm like, I hadn't been going, and it wasn't like a guilt thing. It was just like, I'm trying to be responsible and you can't, as you can't completely avoid society. You got to you got to do things. Okay, you got to go to the grocery store. I mean, it's just stuff you have to do where you're potentially exposing yourself, even if you're doing all the right things or whatnot. But it was just like, got to make your own decision here.
Hey, Jay, if you have the ability to make audio clips from this show, could you just take out Neal saying you've got to do things where you're potentially exposing yourself and just kind of tweet that out or something?
I think
just you got to expose yourself. Yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, sometimes it's just important.
You have to
just expose yourself. Just let it all hang out and see what happens.
I wouldn't recommend that you do that, Neal.
You would not, Jay?
No, it might hurt your reputation. Hey, listen, I haven't set foot in the gym in a long time. It really pisses me off because I like to go.
But I can't tell it looking at you. I mean,
that's the one
great.
thing that's the one thing I haven't gone back since my son. I haven't been to the gym for 3.5 weeks, and I'm not going back anytime soon.
I just don't feel comfortable in there. I hate it, man, because I've spent so much time in there. I love those folks. I love the Bell Road Y here in Montgomery, and they have been there for me. But man, I'm just freaked out.
I'm missing watching the 70-year-old dudes working out in their polo shirts and their khaki shorts. I mean, that's a thing I want to go see with their full Dr. Dre beats on. And
I had gone back to the gym, and I was just a little more careful about hand sanitizer. But for the most part, I was back in it. I was good.
Yep. I went back for about 3-4 weeks, and then my son got it, and I haven't been back since, and I don't know when I'm going to go back.
I do miss the soccer moms. I mean, that's a great place to see
your
soccer moms.
fields back open? Can you go?
They're open insofar as I've negotiated a deal for them to let me play on them myself, but no, they're not open in general. No.
So, yeah.
So there's and plus, man, my daughter didn't play anymore, so
but that's where you used to go to work out, so I didn't know if you could do that.
Yeah, at the Bell Road Y for sure. Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Thank you.
Was that Dan?
No, yeah, Dan was just telling me he got his first filling filled, so.
It's great.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I'm sure he'll turn that into a column.
Yeah, you want to talk about Dan Wolken for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about Dan.
He's a favorite at auburnsports.com. I don't know about Rebel Groves and the power of Mizzou.
They love him at rebelgroves.com.
I think it's just safe to say across the SEC, he's the most popular member of the media.
He is the guy. Now, look, Gabe and full disclosure, Gabe and Jay and I have a group text, and sometimes we've kind of had little fights about whether the media is cheering against sports. 99.99% of media is not cheering against sports. Dan Wolken is cheering against sports.
Here's the way I've come to describe Dan. He's the guy that wants to prove Clay Travis right. And that pisses me off because I don't really want anybody to prove Clay Travis right.
Well,
but
he's doing it, buddy.
Clay right all by himself.
He is. Yes, he is. He absolutely is. I mean, if all Clay does is say, "Look at this guy," USA Today is cheering against sports. You got to go point Clay. I'm sorry, you do. That is a point to Clay Travis.
Again,
period.
Let's be clear. The three of us on this podcast want sports to happen. Most people who work in sports want sports to happen. It is beyond my comprehension why anyone who covers sports would not want sports to happen.
Well, Dan Wolken does not want sports to happen.
But I don't disagree with that. I just don't understand why.
It's because he has gotten his feelings tied up in it. He's playing this. Like the story today that he has a column today, as we're taping this on Wednesday, he's a column out about he's upset at Major League Baseball basically and the NBA because they have access to testing that the general public doesn't have. Yes. Hey guys, hold careful here. I don't want to shock everyone.
Here we go.
The people with lots of money are always going to have access to things before the people without lots of money. It's kind of always been that way. It's called capitalism.
Look,
the NBA is buying, and Major League Baseball is buying its test from a private company. That private company, whether you like it or not, wants to make a profit. I'm sure that those companies have given away a lot of tests and they're selling them to the public. But the NBA and Major League Baseball, at a minimum, are paying a premium for those tests. and it's to be able to turn them around quickly and be able to do it effectively and whatnot. They're not taking tests away. They're not going. Major League Baseball's not going to the healthcare facility in Kansas City or St. Louis or Indianapolis or Chicago or wherever, and saying, hey, we would like 500 of those tests right there, and we'll pay for them so that the people in the line over here can't get tested.
Right.
That's not how it works.
So Janelle and I got tested. We got our results back in 28 hours. Like, that's good. I'm fine
great.
with, a day and a half, basically. And also, like, you guys can substitute whatever name you want to here. Neal, substitute Anthony Rizzo. Jay, substitute, I don't know, some guy that plays for
Man United,
Tottenham or whatever team you cheer for. I don't know.
Tottenham.
But, like, I will say this. I would willingly go without a test for the coronavirus for the next 3 months if it meant Patrick Mahomes was going to get tested 3 times every day. Because if he gets the coronavirus, officially this is the worst thing that's ever happened. So he can get tested every single day, and I will give him my test, and that's fine.
Okay, noted.
The point is that Patrick Mahomes and his employer can afford to buy all of those tests, and they're testing. Yeah, it's Dan's argument is insane. It is
which one? Every one he's made for the last month and a half?
But this one in particular. And then the other one where Dan is unwilling to budge on the majority of players. This isn't a racial comment. It's nothing. It's just fact. The majority of players are actually safer on the campus than they are at home.
Yes.
Unless you're going to argue that when they are at home, they're locking themselves in their childhood bedroom and not leaving it.
And now let's also be clear about this. I think when push comes to shove, if students aren't on campus, they're not going to play football. So a lot of this argument goes away about how we're treating these kids. Like right now, today, July 22nd, they are safer in Columbia, in Auburn, in Oxford than they would be at home. Because you know what that does? That gives the coaches 3 hours a day. They know where those kids are. Now, the other 21, they got no damn clue. They can go do whatever they want to do, and they can't control that, and that's the problem. But at least for 3 hours, they know where those kids are. If those kids are scattered in Dallas and Philadelphia and Miami and wherever they're from, then 0 out of 24 hours do they know what they're doing.
Sure. And so the argument is, well, when the kids come back to campus, it's going to go crazy. And it might.
But not because of football.
But, right. It won't be because of football. It'll be because of parties.
Right.
Yeah, because when are the breakouts happening? If you talk to people at these schools, the breakouts are happening on the weekends.
I feel like really everything would be a lot safer if maybe college kids just didn't have as many friends, and just kind of hung out at home and didn't like to go out
Gabriel.
and drink and stuff.
Well,
I don't know about you. I don't know about you guys. I studied every Friday and Saturday night for 4 years when I was at Missouri.
Here's the thing, right? Though, since when the kids first got to the schools, everybody kind of had spikes. Kids got together, they had parties, they did stuff that college kids do. The numbers have gone way down. I mean, it's one of the most underreported numbers when Greg Sankey, and it might have been because he was on the Clay Travis show, Outkick show or whatever, when he said it, but he said that their numbers are virtually 0. They've tested around. I mean, like, look at Major League Baseball tested everybody, and they had no positives last week. The NBA's tested everybody, and they're in a bubble. I get it, but they've had like 2 positives the entire time. Those are not big numbers, and what drives me nuts about media, and I don't think the decision's been made at the Power 5 level whether they're playing or not. I think they've made that decision. They very well might. They very well might not. I don't think they know yet. What drives me crazy is, like, let's say Maryland has 5 positives and Maryland pauses their program. You watch the sports writers go, see, it's just not going to work. They hit the pause button. They didn't send everybody home. They just said, hey, we're going to take a couple of days off. We're going to clean the place up. We're going to try to figure out what happened and go from there. It's the desire to be, I think it's the desire on some parts, some people's part in our field, and Wolken is absolutely one of these people to say, "See, I told you so." They so desperately want to write that column. I told you, it's just not going to be able to happen.
Maryland is an odd situation. I was learning a little bit about Maryland recently, that they have a Republican governor, although it's a mostly blue state in general, and they've kind of worked together. It's been okay, but they have definitely been more cautious than most. In fact, I think they just decided today that in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is right outside of D.C., where a lot of the folks live, where I used to live when my dad moved us there in Silver Spring, they are closed. They're going to be doing distance learning until into January. I think it's like January 29th. They have already, to this moment, committed to remote learning until the end of January, which I think is insane.
Jay, you said working together. Is that a thing that's allowed anymore?
Easy now, buddy.
Are we allowed to do that?
It is okay occasionally to acknowledge that someone with a different viewpoint from yours may have one small part of their argument that makes sense. Yes.
Not to spend the entire show on this, though, but I don't understand why you would, on July the 22nd, commit 6 months of online learning. I don't know what's out there that tells you that, hey, in 6 months, this thing, there's no chance it will be under control. I don't get it.
Well, yeah, I don't have any reason to believe that, and that's part of the reason that some of the ADs are still concerned about it. But
yeah,
I'm a little more optimistic today than I was a week ago. I tell you that.
Okay, in what way? Because I think I am too. I am. Someone asked me for a prediction today, and I said, well, I mean, I wouldn't want to bet money on it, but if you asked me for one today, I would predict a 9-game season, 8 SEC games, and 1 game for SEC teams against either the Big 12 or the ACC.
That seems like a good guess. I think they'll play 8. I think they'll get 8 in.
You think they'll play the 8 conference games and that's it?
Well, no, I think I don't. Maybe it's 9. Because I still think I know for a fact that Auburn and North Carolina are trying to play on the 9th or 10th of September. They're still full go, and the guys that run those Chick-fil-A games, Gary Stoken, in particular, they're very smart people. They know how to put on games, and they're very efficient and effective, very similar to the way that Chick-fil-A is about all the things that they do in their regular business. If they thought this was not going to be a go, they would shut down all the work they're doing to get these games ready to go. But instead, they have been going full speed ahead on this stuff, and it tells me they feel like it's going to be a go. And we have a couple of friends of the site at auburnsports.com who are involved. They don't work for an SEC school, but they're just involved with how games work and stuff like that. I'll leave it at that. And they are more optimistic than they've ever been.
They think the games are going to be played.
Yes, they do. They think that this is the way it's going to work. That they're going to be they're going to be very careful, but they're going to at least start this stuff.
Was Auburn, North Carolina, was that the opener or was that week 2?
That was supposed to be week 2. Auburn was supposed to kick off against Alcorn State, which we definitely know that game's off because Alcorn State and the SWAC have all shut down football. So Auburn does not have that game. So maybe they'll find somebody else to play there, or maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I thought it was an interesting thing in Cecil Hurt's column on Sunday. He was writing about all of it, basically, and he implied that the SEC hasn't ruled out a 12-game season, and he was the first person I've seen say that, because I've not sensed that level of optimism from anyone that 12 games is an option, because that would require adding realistically multiple games per team, and I don't know that that's possible.
Yeah.
And Alabama's already lost 1 game.
Do you guys – I feel like every day I change my mind on what's going to happen. Like one day I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm hearing. I feel pretty good. And the next day I'm like, there's no way they play. And then the day after that, I'm like, they got a shot, And the truth is, I don't know, man.
Well, I know we don't know, Gabe, but, Neal and I are just trying to make a show out of it.
I'm just saying, every day the wind seems to blow a different direction.
Well, I would say it's more like every week the wind seems to blow a different direction.
Yeah,
and this week, the wind has done what I thought the wind would do, which was the wind would start smelling the money and kind of blowing in that direction a little bit. And it's not a strong wind. It's a light wind, because like in the state where I'm in, even though there's a tremendous dispute about how valid some of the numbers are and whether, the hospital should be on diversion or whatnot, the numbers aren't good in Mississippi right now, and the healthcare people are going to be the ones that ultimately make these decisions. These decisions are going to get made at the state level, and I don't know that if the season had to start this weekend that Mississippi would have a shot. But there is a strong sense from talking to people that the money is just such that they're either going to play these games or they're going to try until the absolute last moment to play them. It's like there's this expectation from people that the SEC is going to make some broad, like announcement with trumpets and everything on the end of July about a decision. I don't know that that's going to happen. Like,
I played the saxophone in high school. If they would like me to be part of the band for the announcement, I would do that. Just, trumpets, saxophones, whatever.
Mm-hmm. You're so sweet like that, Gabriel.
I mean, I just want to contribute.
Did you ever play in a band?
Play what?
Did you ever play in a band?
No, I played in I had to be in the marching band my freshman year in high school to get like a credit. But no, I have zero musical talent.
Okay. That's interesting to find out. Dan Wolken also said that he, as a byproduct of the COVID issues, he's kind of hoping this puts a dent in the fraternity world, that he thinks, as Neal mentioned this earlier in passing, that a lot of times these super spreader events are tied on campus to fraternity parties. And as myself, a fraternity person back in the day, we had some dirty parties, I would say. But I think that anybody who's arguing for the downfall of fraternity is someone who didn't get a bid. $1 to Avery F on that one. That's a really weak argument. I'm sick of it. I can't believe that some goober like Dan Wolken wants to go that direction.
What was his impetus for saying that? Like, was there something that happened that he brought that up, or?
Well, I don't know, Gabe. Does it matter?
No, I'm just curious because,
well, someone mentioned I think it was on Twitter. Someone mentioned that he this could be the end of fraternities because they won't be able to have parties, and if they're not on campus, people won't be joining fraternities. They won't be doing rush and stuff like that. And he was like, "Well, see, that's a good thing."
Well, this seems like a good time to pivot to Twitter, right?
Yeah, we can pivot to Twitter.
Let's talk about Twitter for a minute.
Huh?
Let's talk about Twitter for a minute, because somebody, one of the three of us, has quit Twitter. Would anybody like to guess who it is? Neal?
I'm going to guess Neal.
I'm going to guess Chase Parr.
I don't know who that is. Chance, you mean?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Neal McCready, who I consider to be the most tweeter of the tweeters here, has quit Twitter.
Now, let me ask Neal: have you quit in that you don't tweet? Have you quit in that your account no longer exists? Have you quit in that you now do not acknowledge it as a thing that is in the world and you don't look at it?
No, it's in the world, and I've still got to maintain the Rebel Grove one, but all I'm doing with it is just content. Like, hey, here's the mailbag, boom. Here's the podcast, boom. I'm not engaging in conversations. I'm not going down Twitter rabbit holes any longer.
Oh,
so you and I are in the same place then. Yeah.
I have unauthorized my personal account.
Okay.
Dude,
I never wanted to get the blue check mark thing because I never wanted my Twitter account to be what got me fired. But I don't know. I realized I was spending way too much time on Twitter. And the truth is, the overwhelming majority, and by that I mean 99% of the people that are on Twitter have made up their mind. They know that they're dug in. They're not engaged in any sort of a discourse. And so what are you doing? I mean, why are you, and I was letting too many things trigger me on Twitter. And I just said, let's get away from it.
I have to say this very carefully, Neal, but you like to kind of fight on Twitter. I mean, you may look at it as sparring, but you like to kind of mix it up on Twitter. Is that fair to say?
I don't know that I like to, but yes,
you do.
I am easily drawn into fights on Twitter, and I don't need to be. So it's one of those things, Jay. I look at it like this: if you're an alcoholic, what's the one thing you don't want to get around?
Old Soul bourbon from Cathead Distillery. It's delicious.
Yes. So if you're a drug addict, you don't need to be around drugs. I just got away from it. I don't know. We'll see.
So let me ask you guys this, because we brought this up in our super secret group text conversation. In doing what we do, though, it is like, would you guys agree? It's not possible to have our jobs and just pretend Twitter isn't a thing, right?
Not and do it well. Because last night there was Ole Miss / Oxford drama, and it all occurred on Twitter.
What happened?
So the kicker at Oxford High School, his name is Jack Tannehill. He's one of the better.
Neal started this on his burner, by the way.
Hairless Whisperer 69, whatever.
He started at Meal Nacreedy.
I should start a burner under Hairless Whisperer. That would be really funny.
That was Lake's idea.
The kicker at Oxford his name is Jack Tannehill. One of the better kickers in the country, probably in the state, certainly. And he's been committed to Ole Miss for a while. He committed to the previous staff. His mother, Robin Tannehill, is the mayor of Oxford.
Oh.
And last night, within about a minute, Jack Tannehill decommitted from Ole Miss, and Ole Miss took a commitment from a kicker from Mandeville, Louisiana. And shortly thereafter, one of the, I guess, bloggers, for lack of a better term, who blogs about Ole Miss, he put out a tweet that said, as of this moment, I'm paraphrasing, as of this moment, Ole Miss's 2021 recruiting class is a complete disaster.
Because a kicker decommitted?
Well, apparently the kicker decommitting pushed him over the edge on this opinion. And Robin Tannehill, the mayor of Oxford, retweeted that tweet. That did not go over particularly well, apparently, with a lot of Ole Miss people. She subsequently unretweeted the retweet. But once you've retweeted the tweet out of the tweet, you can't ever put the tweet back into the Twitter.
Right. Somebody has a screenshot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once it's done. And so, there was some drama. To your point, Gabe, there was drama on Twitter that if you were not on Twitter, you were not.
Right.
So I kind of woke up this morning to, hey, what's all this about?
Yep. And that's the point, is like, and I don't know if the schools you guys cover are the same, but like Mizzou now no longer sends us emails about things. They tweet it from their official account. If I'm not on Twitter, there are things I'm going to miss about the team I cover. So I have to be on Twitter. Now, I don't have to tweet. I don't have to participate in it necessarily, but you have to be on it to know what's going on.
So what I did was I got on the Rebel Grove Twitter and just went in and followed all the Ole Miss accounts that I need to follow. So it'll be there if I need to see it. I just don't want to do me on it anymore.
So basically what you're saying is the Rebel Grove Twitter account now follows Ole Miss athletics and
Peloton.
A lot of porn stars.
A lot of porn stars, yeah.
I don't
and
know.
Chris Bryant.
Twitter, I don't like Twitter.
And Dan Wolken.
That would be actually really funny if all of a sudden, if Dan got a notification that Rebel Grove is following you, he'd be like, wow.
Dang. Poor Dan.
Yes.
How long do you think this lasts, Neal?
What lasts? Not on Twitter?
Yeah.
Well, my account, I can reclaim my account until like August the 19th. So that's the magic date. If I make it past August the 19th, it's going to last. Because I'm not starting over.
So here's the thing, though, because I think I texted both of you guys the same thing this morning. I'm like, all right, I've made the decision. My Twitter account is going to be Power Mizzou Links. Like, I'm not going to engage conversation. Like, I haven't deactivated it because my account has way more followers than the Power Mizzou account has. So I'll keep that one. But I'll retweet Power Mizzou Links, all that. But I no longer want to engage in conversation. And it seems like when you say that, all right, I'm just going to do it. And like, there will be a time that I really want to say something that I'm really going to have to fight to not say something. And I don't really get why that is. Does that make sense? Like, it's going to be harder to not participate in Twitter than I feel like it should be.
Yeah, because it's become such a part of what we do. And there's so many people in our field who judge their merits on how many followers they have. and you just there's no money in it. If anything,
nobody's ever paid me a dime from Twitter.
Well, if anything, we've lost money to Twitter, all of us, because we're in such a rush to. We have people who are paying customers now. They pay the same amount they paid during the Revolutionary War, but they pay.
Do you guys remember though the Battle of Lexington, Rivals.com? That was that was
crazy.
Stuff.
That was awesome. Yeah. It was once you subscribed, you got a "We Beat the British" T-shirt. It was great, and a gift code from paulrevere.com.
Don't go there now.
But 9 months for £2.
Yeah. 9 months for a glass of mead. But if you think about it, if you think about it, I mean, we have paying customers, and we're in such a rush to get our information out on Twitter so that we will get credit for it amongst ourselves. And who gets screwed when we do that? It's our customers.
It's us.
Yeah. So we're costing there's people that rightfully have said in the past, why should I subscribe to powermizzou.com? It's all going to be on Twitter. It's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's fair, but I haven't had these same problems that y'all have. I don't like Twitter very much. I consider it to be a quagmire of just anger and hatred and anonymous BS. But I don't know the people. I don't follow a lot of people that are talking a lot of shit, I guess, maybe. And I don't really feel the need to jump in.
I don't follow them. They respond to me.
They don't do that to me. I don't know. I don't fight. I'm not there to fight. I don't fight people. I don't talk shit about Alabama. I just lay low pretty much, man.
Well, that's what's funny is
you're a
Mississippi
way better
State
person than me and Neal, Jay. I think we can agree on that.
But I watch you guys prior to Neal
leaving.
leaving.
You're a nicer guy.
No, I'm not. But prior to Neal leaving, I would watch
Publicly,
Neal.
You are.
I would watch Neal on Twitter, and I would be like, "What is he doing? Like, what, Neal? Why are you doing this?
So have I.
Why are you fighting this person? Why are you retweeting this person? Why are you talking shit to this person named Nutsack McGee or whatever? Like, what's the point? Like, if you win this battle, the Nutsack McGee and his 10 followers, who cares?
I know.
I mean, at least he's responding to the original Nutsack McGee and not Nutsack McGee 994372 with an egg avatar.
Georgia Rebel in the chat makes a great point. Says Facebook is worse. It's all politic and Facebook's awful too.
Facebook is the worst place in America.
For whatever reason, I've been able to completely avoid Facebook for years, and I do nothing. The only time I've ever been involved in Facebook is like literally around like a class reunion or something, when you're just like talking to people that you graduated high school with, and then you disappear for another 5 years. I don't ever, that has never been my downfall. And like, I use Instagram the right way. I'll put up a recipe or something and watch my kids or whatever.
I mean, is that the right way?
Recipe?
Yeah.
You share recipes?
Man, shut up. It's like a happy place.
I use Instagram the right way. I record my Peloton ride and I put the whole thing on Instagram.
I'll put the screenshot up from my performance on Peloton.
Oh my God.
I'm proud of it. Hey Jay, you know what I did already this week in the time that I normally would spend on Twitter?
Yeah, you read a book?
I read a book.
Oh,
I read a Grisham book.
He knitted himself a Peloton polo to wear on the podcast.
I've knitted some new Peloton socks. Yep, it's awesome.
Somebody mentioned that you were flossing some Peloton swag. Is your hat like a Peloton thing? I can't tell.
No, my hat's a Link Sole, the golf.
But is your shirt like a Peloton thing?
Yeah, it's a Peloton shirt.
Oh, okay. You must be a real baller. Social media, I use Reddit mostly now, and I found that Reddit is. I know you can get into some Reddits that are kind of rough, but the ones that I'm in, people would talk pretty nice, and I don't see a lot of MFs and kiss my A's and all that, KYS and all that. It's pretty civilized. So I kind of hang out on Reddit now.
Man, we talked about this a little bit in our chat thing. That KYS thing to me is so far crossing the line. I can't stand that. That really is wrong. That bothers me a lot.
Well, that's been a rule at auburnsports.com for about a year now. We had someone, a high volume poster, tell someone else to KYS the other day, which stands for kill yourself. And the reason it's such a big deal to me is I try to, when we go on these road trips, to meet up with auburnsports.com subscribers at the various locales. And when I went to Missouri like 3 years ago, I stayed in St. Louis, where Gabriel told me to stay. And I hung out with
Joplin.
Just right outside of Jefferson City, and then Joplin's just a little bit further away. And I met an auburnsports.com subscriber, been around a long time, and he was a survivor of a suicide attempt. And he told me, I hate KYS because every time I see that, I know they're not talking to me, and if they are talking to me, they don't actually mean it, but it just really resonates for me, and it gets bad ideas in my head. And I said, from this day forward, we're going to outlaw KYS. Well, unfortunately, that subscriber ended up passing away, and we've had at least 2 other sons of members die by suicide in the last year, and it's too much, man. And we're going to remove KYS. I feel like everybody on the site, I mean, it's one of the only things on the site that I feel like just about everybody agrees on, that we should not use KYS. And Corny Mofo was saying that here in the chat, too. And there's just a few people that think it's funny. They think it's hilarious. There's like 10 people.
I feel like there's a broader point, though, about the internet. I agree with everything you said, but like on the internet, you never know what somebody else is dealing with.
True.
And so, like I said, when my son got, tested positive, like, again, he was fine, no big deal, asymptomatic. But, like, that was a rough day for me because I spend my whole day on the internet looking at these people who have all these opinions about this thing. And I'm going, but this hasn't impacted you. You act like an expert on this thing that, like, you're just talking about it, right? And I feel like this applies to almost every subject. And I know I'm venturing into the insulting our subscribers and messing with our business model here. I get what message boards are, what social media is and all that, but like maybe before you share your opinion, like, dude, have some insight into it, right? Like, and I've probably gone a little off topic from what you're talking about, which is a very serious issue, but like the internet has become this place where we all feel like we need to say what we think, and anybody else cares what we think. Why does anybody care what I think? Other than maybe they care what I think about Missouri sports, but why do they care what I think about anything else at all? Doesn't matter.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It also makes me think a little bit about our business, man. Going forward, if there isn't football, which is a possibility, what are we going to do? What happens to auburnsports.com? What happens to Rebel Groves? 5 years from now, there's still going to be a thirst for information about Ole Miss football. So, I mean, you're good long term. It's just
we're going to have to just navigate our way through it. I mean, you're going to do shows like this one where, quite frankly, I think we're going to have to do a lot of different shows. I've told Chance the Yapper this. We're going to have to do some shows where we're therapists without claiming to be therapists. We're going to have to just do shows where we take calls, or you do YouTube streams and you answer questions and you interact and you continue your community. What is that?
It's a little rabbit. It's my therapy rabbit, Neal. He likes to listen to the things that I have concerns about, and he looks happy. Look at him.
He does look very happy. I just think we're going to have to do stuff like that. I think we're going to have to, in your case, find former Auburn players and bring them on and talk about the old days and find out where they are today and talk to current coaches and see if you can't get them to let their guard down a little bit. And, maybe you sit down with Bruce Pearl and have a 1 hour. I don't know that he's going to do it. I don't know. But, those guys are going to have nothing but time on their hands in that scenario. And maybe you just trips down memory lane. I think we're going to have a season. I do. I think it's going to look different. I think it's going to feel different. I think it's going to sound different. I just don't believe right now today that there is enough to push them into a situation where they're going to abandon that money without trying to get it. So let me make that clear. I'm not saying they're going to finish a season, but I do think they're going to try really, really hard to play a season.
They're going to start a season. Hey, are there some things you'd like to share about Pinterest? Neal McCready and our friends.
There is first, but I would love for you to tell the people about Cathead Vodka, Cathead Distillery, in a way that only you can.
Well, this show is presented in part by Cathead Distillery out of Jackson, Mississippi, makers of the Cathead Honeysuckle Vodka that everyone across the Southeast and even moving out of the Southeast is clamoring for almost daily. They also have the Old Soul whiskey, which I have right here for those of you who can see it on the stream. Their latest offering, which is some good stuff there. I think it has a 3-year-old-ish statement, but it tastes older than that, and I enjoy drinking it quite a bit. They're also selling Comfort and Mercy hand sanitizer on their internet site at catheaddistillery.com, which is their take on hand sanitizer. 80% alcohol antiseptic, so it's good, strong stuff you can put on your hands. What I like about it is that it's not gooey, it's not sticky. You just put that on there, and you feel like you've gotten clean, and you can move on about your day. That's why I like it. I put it in a little spray bottle. I think it works wonderful. They also make a Hoodoo Chicory liqueur, the Bristow Gin, if you are so inclined. And they also make a vodka, the Cathead vodka, that doesn't have any flavoring to it. If you're kind of an old school, like a little vodka and a little bit of the orange juice, you can go that way as well. Another thing that's really cool about Cathead is that they really want to push local eateries. They're big on that, and they would just implore you, if they could speak to you right now, to go out there and enjoy the food stuffs and beverages at your favorite local restaurants. If you feel safe doing that in your locations, whether you're in Birmingham, Oxford, Jackson, Mississippi, Montgomery, Alabama, Birmingham, Atlanta, everywhere across Southeast, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville. Cathead works with those folks. They know those folks. They love those folks, and they love what they do for the communities. And I enjoy eating their food and drinking their beverages too. So anyway, Cathead, good folks. They've been with us a long time, and they do great work. Check them out at catheaddistillery.com.
Neal, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought we had agreed upon a more 1-900 version of the read earlier in the podcast.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
That's what we had hoped for, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
If you have a complaint, it's called 1-900-J-Tate. Yeah. It's 1-900-J-Tate.
Operators are standing by, guys.
Can I get your credit card information before you talk to Jay?
My name is Hota, and I'm here to talk to you.
What's the webcam address for that?
141.25.17.116. Hope that doesn't take you somewhere bad.
By the way, Jay, I found a recipe that involves pecan vodka, the Cathead pecan vodka.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to give that a shot.
Is that on your Instagram account yet?
You know what? If once I try it, I will take photos and I'll put that on Instagram, and I will tag both you and Jay, Gabe, and you all can enjoy the Instagram. Maybe I'll even find a way to put it on my story so that you can watch my story.
I won't be watching it because I can't even log into Instagram.
That's not a thing I'm going to do.
I don't even think I know how to put something on my story. I don't think I even know how to do it. This podcast is also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in several states as well. Founded in 1997, Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. They treat investment like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust is going to sit down with you. They're going to listen to your goals, listen to your dreams, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan that is built just for you. It's pintrust.com. That's PINNtrust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis, Tennessee. If you are looking to get out, you just need to get away, you want to know what's open, what's a safe place to go. Maybe you're already looking ahead to next summer going, hey, I lost this summer and I'm going to blow out a vacation next summer and I want it to be one that I'll always remember. Get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. All you got to do, Jay's done this, all you got to do is give him some parameters, give him a budget. He'll give you some options, and you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the greatest pod in the South.
My trip to Gatlinburg, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, mostly about how folks love Gabe so much, but I did have a chance to get down to the Strip a couple times.
Hey, can we talk about that part more?
No, we're not going to talk about that more, Gabriel.
Okay.
Just
checking.
You're a married man, and yeah. Anyway, got down the Strip, saw more masks than I thought I would, but not a lot, if that makes sense. I would say somewhere between a third and a half of the folks on the Gatlinburg Strip were wearing masks. And if you guys have been down that way, you know that there's really no way to move around the Strip in Gatlinburg without being very close to people, because the sidewalks, although they're a little wider than your average sidewalk, they're still not particularly wide. And, of course, there's a lot of wide folks down there, me included. So, yeah, it was pretty tight quarters down there, and I was jumping in and out just to get something special. You got to eat some fudge when you go there. I think that's a Gatlinburg staple, and you got to have some taffy, which I had a little bit of. I feel like that's a Gatlinburg staple.
Wait, is Gatlinburg, is that famous for fudge? Is that
I think so, yeah. There on the Strip, there's a lot of fudge shoppies, SHOPPES, shoppies.
Right. Yeah.
And you can also get the taffy, salt water or lake water, whatever tickles your fancy.
Lake water.
Dude, my friend brought
somebody should actually start a lake water taffy business. That'd be I would support that.
Gabe, maybe this is what we can do during our COVID break, brother.
Hey, Lake of the Ozarks taffy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we can make tens of dollars.
Joplin, we'll meet halfway at the lake. We'll make some taffy. It'll be amazing.
Why can't we do a show in Joplin? We should.
I mean, we can.
My friend got a grab bag of taffy, and she pulled out one and gave it to me, and it was like a lavender color. And I was like, yeah, why not? I'll give it a shot. It's probably peppermint. It was clove. It tasted like clove cigarettes. It was horrible.
That sounds bad.
It sounds horrible. Like, who wanted that? So I gave up right there. But I did, at least taffy did touch my lips, so I feel like I did what I had to do. All right, guys. That's a show right there. That's a GPITS.
I'm learning a lot of things about Gatlinburg. I had no idea.
Well, you live on the other side of the earth, so you probably don't have a chance to see it. But you're near Branson. That's down near Joplin. And
it's interesting because you cover an SEC East team. You would think that you'd been in, the East so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think, but
you're right there on the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina.
I spend my weekends mostly in like Philly and Baltimore and places like that. So.
Yeah, Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap up there. Our thanks to the people at ACS for making this show happen. Cathead, Pinnacle, John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated.
Shout out Dan Wolkin.
Dan Wolkin for making this happen. I'm sure Dan will probably listen 10 times. We'll get a cease and desist order at some point from Gannett. Although Gannett probably can't afford to hire an attorney these days.
They love me, believe me.
I bet a Gannett attorney's like 24. Just fresh out of law school, no idea.
Dude, they're so cheap, dude. Back when I left Gannett in 2012, they tried to strong arm me from my blog. It was called the Hottest Auburn Blog in the Net, the Habatin. And they tried to tell me that was their IP. And I was like, oh, no, it's not.
No.
And I actually proved to them with emails where it was not their IP because the people at my paper had actually told me to not do it anymore. They said they wouldn't pay for it. They told me not to do it. They said the only people reading that was you and your mama. So I was able to kind of stave that off. And then I said, hey, now that we proved that it's mine and not yours, how much you want for it? I told them it would cost them $20,000. And they said no. And then I dropped it to $10,000 and they still said no. And I said, I won't take a penny less than $10,000. And so that was the end.
Wow. They're so cheap.
They owed me $10,000 just for all the extra overtime I worked there and they didn't pay me.
Yeah.
If they'd give me $20,000, still would have been fair, but I would have taken it.
I've gotten calls from people a couple of times like, hey, would you be interested? And I'm like, isn't that a Gannett paper? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, nope. Yeah. Nope.
Whatever.
Anyway, all right, we'll let that be done. We'll be back hopefully next week. I don't know what the plan is precisely, but with episode number 108 of the greatest pod in the South. Until then, for Gabriel DeArmond, for J.G. Tate, I'm Neal McCready. You guys take care.
All right, guys.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Y'all be good. Bye. All right, fellow chatters, that is the end of the GPITS this week. That was late because of me. We didn't get back from Gatlinburg until late on Monday, and then we do the rundown on Tuesday afternoons at this time. So I didn't want to do it on Tuesday, and so we just pushed it to Wednesday. So that's 100% my fault right there. But good show today. I knew we were going to get into Neal on the Twitter thing, and I find that a little confusing. As I told Neal on the show, that because he's kind of a combatant on Twitter, and then he's like, God, there's so much combat. And it's like, well, I know, but you're involved in it. But his answer made sense to me. He just can't hardly keep himself from doing it. So, I mean, it's what he does. It's like me and a bottle of Old Forester. I mean, you put that in front of me, and Pop's probably going to get topped, Anyway, guys, I do want to give a shout out to our super chatters. I know Web M, Stu Pup, and Corny for sure jumping in. Thank you guys so much for that. We don't get a ton of viewers for this show. I think it's because it's in the middle of the day and it's a little bit different, But it's good to do a little show, kind of. Do want to thank all the folks who've been chatting too. Georgia Rebel's been big in the show today. Thank you for that. Leif B, of course, as always. Who else is jumping in a bunch? Web M was in start to finish. Corny was great today. Corny usually has some folks with him. I'm disappointed they weren't with you. Canoe Man, etc. Raven was here early on. Yeah, anyway. Avery, of course. So thank you guys very much for being part of it. I guess we'll wrap it up there. I'll put the show together and put it out on our various streams and networks, whatever. For those of you who watch the Brain Drain, we'll be doing that Saturday night. Sorry I wasn't with you guys last week, but had some telephony issues. The internet was bad at the cabin. It wasn't good enough to keep my Xbox just connected to the dang internet ether. It just kept disconnecting and I couldn't get anything going. So that's on me. But I'm not planning to go anywhere for a long time now. So we'll be here at home on the dedicated hard line. And it looks like the Streamlabs held up today. So that's good. There's some issues for me on my end, but that doesn't affect you guys. As long as the video sounded good and you could hear stuff, that's great. Boomjay says, we were up against Clay Travis, which is tough. Obviously, he has a big following. He's a big national guy, so that's cool. Says we started at the same time. That takes away a chunk of the potential audience. We'll just have to take our chances with them. Stupep says, my brain needs some draining for sure. Yeah. Telephony. Yeah, I like that. I like that word. I do. Yeah. I've been listening to a podcast. I've talked on the show. I'm just babbling here because we're just still going. Who cares? I actually started listening to a podcast, which I never listen to podcasts ever. And it was an NPR show. It's called Embedded. And I'm listening to I think it's a 4-part series, could be a 5-part series about Mitch McConnell, who's someone that, like, I don't know a ton about. I mean, I know that he's obviously a very visible element of government and the GOP and has been for a long time, but I didn't know a lot about him, kind of how he rose to power and some of the backstories, because, man, I didn't give one shit at all about politics until about 8 years ago, something like that. So a lot of the stuff that happened before that, I don't know anything about. So it's been really interesting to hear it. And the show is done in a way where it's not ragging and it's not praising. It's just kind of like telling the story, both from detractors and then people who also think Mitch either is a good dude or a sharp dude or was right on this issue, whatever. So it's not like it's not like a big liberal take on him or he's a bad guy, or it's not like some super right wing where it's like Mitch McConnell does everything right. It's pretty much down the middle, and I've enjoyed it. So I've been listening the hell out of that as I walk around my neighborhood. So I would encourage it. That's the first podcast I think I've ever listened to. So I can't say if it's better or worse than others, but I've enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot about him, just about how he got his start and stuff, and the way that he wins so much. Because the guy's, golly, he's like the biggest winner you can get. And now that I've kind of looked back on him and learned a little bit more about him, I didn't realize there's people on here that don't like him. I mean, I'm from Kentucky. He's from Kentucky. I mean, I have some reason to kind of care. And I'm GOP and he's GOP. I don't know. I found it very interesting. I didn't know just how hard it would have been for him to dig out of Kentucky as a GOP guy, because when he was getting going in the 70s, it was a very Democratic blue state, and it was hard for him to dig out, but he was able to do it. Leif says, what's it called again? It's called Embedded from NPR, and it's not they did it last summer, so they have like 10 episodes that have nothing to do with Mitch McConnell since then, but if you scroll back, you'll see it. It's at least 4 parts, and there may be 5. Boomja Boomja says Mitch is a master legislator. Love him or hate him, he is. I cannot imagine somebody who has ever been in that position that was better than him at what he does. And I mean, for me, I respect that. Anybody who's really, really good at something, assuming it's not illegal, and what he does is not illegal, it's just something that I'm interested in, and he is really good at what he does. So I might want to just take a listen to that again. I didn't feel like, I'm through 2 full episodes. I'm into the 3rd one now. I don't feel like it's pushing one way or another. Like it's trying to make him a bad guy or make him a good guy. It's like all sides. And I've actually walked away having more respect for him. So that's something I just thought I'd pass along. I don't listen to podcasts. I always joked about it. Like, I don't listen to podcasts, but I figured since I should tell you guys. See, Leif B says very, very Democratic state, talking about Kentucky until the 90s, 94, it started to swing right. Yeah, it was interesting because one of the people they had interviewed on, and they interview a ton of people on there, but one of them is Larry Forgy, who was a big political figure in Kentucky in the 80s and 90s. My granddad loved Larry Forgy, and he'd always be like, Larry Forgy, he ought to be governor of this state. He was just big. And he did not like Martha Lane Collins, who was a governor in the late 80s. Oh, my God, he hated her. I don't know why you guys would care. Corny says Mitch is terrible except for his judicial confirmations. Yeah, that has definitely been something he's pushed. He's been the reason that you look at a lot of the things that Trump has done where he hasn't filled positions or he's had a lot of turnover. But McConnell, very important to him to push judicial confirmations and to get people nominated, get people vetted, get them into those positions as efficiently as possible. So he's pushed that, absolutely. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. Because it's hard to do. It's hard to do. Stoop Up says, whether you agree, I'm not trying to go political here, whether you agree with it or don't, his decision to absolutely say no to anything Obama did changed the country and the Republican Party. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm going to be honest with you. But, yeah, I just haven't gotten that far with it. And I'm not that big into politics anyway. I'm more just kind of following this storyline, the basic storyline of, aspiring lawyer from Louisville decides he wants to become a senator, and how did he get there? And it took a lot of steps for him to get there, but he's gotten there. Yeah, Webmore says JG's going on like a champ. Man, I don't mind. There was somebody on the bunker just a little while ago that was like, actually, they were kind of disparaging Jeffrey, and I jumped in because, I tend to defend Jeffrey for obvious reasons. And dude was like, why don't you give us some scoop around here instead of just blabbering on podcasts and doing videos? And I'm like, well, I mean, to be honest with you, my role was kind of like the blabber on podcasts and videos. It's kind of what I do. So, I don't know. I guess some people don't see value in it. I do. I know some of y'all do. And when we go on Saturday nights, there's a lot more folks there too. So, I don't know. If there's no sports, I'm going to have to do more of this. I like doing this. I want to make it better. I'm definitely going to try. We're going to get some guests on the show. And there's no doubt about that. BP's going to be on the show. Gus is going to be on the show. One way or another. Webmore says, Jay, you should have a call-in show for GPITS. Yeah, we probably should. Or at least like a post. The way like John Hine does the show on Sirius Radio for Howard, when Howard goes his 3 or 4 hours and they do the call-in show afterward. They call it the wrap-up show. John Hine and Baba Booey and whoever else jumps on there. We could do something like that, I think. Corny says, keep blabbering, love it. Appreciate you, bro. Boomja Boomja. The gift of gab is a real skill. Yeah, I've had a bunch of my friends just say, hey, I watched your stream for a minute or two, whatever. I don't understand how you can do that. How do you get on there and talk so much? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's because I watch streamers. Like Castro is a kid who streams FIFA. And this guy named Wayback who streams FIFA. I think those guys are so great. And Wayback in particular, man, he can just play games for like 8 hours at a time. And he's just always talking. You just kind of get used to it, I guess. See anything else going on? I drank a ton in the cabin. I'm embarrassed how much I drank. And then when I get really drunk, then I guess I eat and don't realize it. Because the next morning I wake up, I'm like, probably my weight will be down because I didn't eat very much last night. And then it's like, oh my God. Where did that extra pound or two come from? I don't remember eating anything. And then I'm like, hey, Courtney, did I eat something last night? And she's like, oh, yeah. I was like, shit. So we have to dry out for a few days here. Boom just says it's not easy to do something like Stern or Rush does, talk for 3 hours straight and keep people entertained. I mean, I think how long those guys have been doing it. When I was an intern in Winchester, Kentucky, this is a true story, so they would give you an hour for lunch. And the way it worked, I didn't really want an hour because I wasn't home. I didn't live in Winchester, so I just didn't really want to break. So I would go, I weighed 300 pounds. So I would go to Burger King and I would get my lunch and I would sit in the parking lot and listen to Rush. And I remember thinking then, that would have been 96. How in the hell has this guy done this long and just talk all the time? And here we are, 25 years later, and he's still going, man. Amazing. People are like, want to raise hell with every word he says. Can you believe that he said blank, blank, blank? And it's like, yeah, I can believe it. He talks for 4 hours a day, 320 days a year. Like, yeah, I can imagine he says a lot of stuff that, not saying that he should be accountable for the things he says, but at the same time, when you're just babbling for 4 hours a day, like you're occasionally going to say something that's not exactly perfect, or is not a perfect characterization of how you feel about a subject or whatever. I mean, you're just kind of babbling about it. Yeah, Leif B, my first real job that wasn't in a college newsroom was at the Winchester Sun in Clark County, Kentucky, just a little bit east of Lexington. Had a great experience there. Small town. I guess it would be kind of like Oxford. They had a little square in downtown Winchester that looked a lot like Oxford. I mean, it's not as awesome as Oxford. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's about that size. Particularly if you took Ole Miss out, it would probably be the exact same size. But I had a great experience there. I met a lot of country folks and really, really enjoyed it. It's weird because this guy that I worked with at the school newspaper, I gave such a high opinion of working at the Sun that he went there the next summer to work and he hated it. And I was like, how could you possibly hate this? And they were like, the editor was so tough and he, was so critical. And I'm like, that's what I loved about it. Like, his name was Bill Blakeman. And yeah, he was old school, man. I like old school people, man. I love talking to, in that case, working for somebody who, was around in the 50s and shit. And when journalism was different, when journalism was like super essential. And, he made me go to the water board and no, I don't mean waterboarding. I mean the actual sewer and water board meetings. And he would show me how to take notes and shit. I mean, I was like 22, never done it before. And that was great. And then the next guy along was just like, I hated him. All they wanted to do was bitch at me about stuff. And I was like, no, he was trying to straighten you out. I wish that people like that, I wish those folks that were early in my career were still around and doing this stuff, because it's changed so much. It's gotten so far away from what I wanted to do. I mean, I like streaming and stuff. I'm just saying, like, I used to love getting a little scoop and writing it, knowing it was going to be in the paper in the morning. And now, you don't do that. And I'm kind of fighting my own little battles now where, like, some of these guys, I don't really know. We talked about it on the rundown yesterday, but I think Jeffrey referred to them as amateurs. Man, I was getting choked up there. Talking about the amateurs. I mean, just some of the folks on Twitter that think that they have better recruiting scoop than Jeffrey and Keith and Jason and BMAT or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous, but, they think they do. And, as long if you say it's true on Twitter, then I guess it is. And I don't know. It's just been kind of a weird one. Some of that. WebM says old school guys rock. Guys and girls, yeah. That was one of the great things about Winchester, man. Everybody there was kind of old school. And I love that about that place. I always told Bill I thought I would come back someday and do his job. He was kind of like the editorial chairman. I thought that would be something that I would really enjoy doing. Now that I'm almost 50, there isn't even anybody doing that job anymore. But it's owned by a conglomerate and they do a shitty job. But I don't think I would do that job now. I don't think I would do it. Courtney Mofo said, so you would prefer being an all the president's men type of reporter? I don't know, man. The problem with living that life is that you can't do anything else. Like, if you're going to be a seriously high-level major reporter, this includes Auburn. I mean, you think Auburn's one school, yeah, but it's a big school and there's a lot of pressure there. But if you're going to do that, you just can't hardly have a life. Or you can't have a life in the way that I think you ought to have a life. Like being there for your wife, being there for your kids. Not 100%. Nobody can be there 100%, but like 90%. I feel like I owe that to them. And although my daughter's about to go to college and won't need me anymore, won't need me much, I still feel that way about Cordy. So I don't think I could do that. But I felt like I wanted to. I felt like at one time in my life I was doing that at the Montgomery Advertiser. I was taking it super seriously. Not that I don't now. It's just it's a different. Everything's different now. So. Corny Mofo was talking about Spotlight, the movie about the Boston paper that exposed the Catholic Church. Yeah, that was an amazing film. And I thought it was a really accurate portrayal of how that shit works. Like the interactions between, I only know the characters, like Mark Ruffalo's character and that pretty Canadian girl's character, and then Michael Keaton, who was kind of like their lower editor and their higher editor. That Ben Bradley, I think, was the one when he was at Boston earlier in his career. Those interactions I thought were pretty genuine. Corny says, does modern media allow you a life? It really does. I mean, right now I can't even go to Auburn. Like what I used to do pre-March 12th, 2020, is I would talk to people. I don't like texting very much. I don't want to text with a source. I do now because I kind of have to, and I really don't like calling. I don't like talking on the phone. So I like to talk to people face to face. So like BP, I would talk to him in the hallway after a game. An assistant coach, whether that be Chad or that be Wes, or whoever. I would usually talk to him on the court before the games. I would sit down with him along the Auburn sideline about 90 minutes before tip-off, and I would just chat with him about, hey, what do what's going on with this? What do you think about this player? That kind of stuff. I feel like I got to be there to talk to them face to face. Maybe that's the old school guy in me, like the way we did it in the 90s. That's just the way I like to do it. And you can't do that now. I mean, I go to Auburn and it's literally locked. There's nobody in there. Alan's working from home. Gus is mostly working from home. And I mean, if he's in there breaking down tape, yeah, it's different. But the people that I talk to, Rich McGlenn, I mean, they're not there. They're not physically there. And so I don't see them and I don't talk to them, and I can text them and stuff, but it's just not the same for me. So yeah, right now it's a lot different and it sucks. And I'm scared it's going to be like this for a long time, and it bothers me. Stupup says, I wish the media cared more about being correct and first. Twitter doesn't help that issue. You're right. Twitter's a real problem. And you also have the problem on Twitter where you have people that, a lot of times the people that don't have credibility look a lot like the people who do have credibility, It's because it's 140 characters or whatever. And I mean, you just kind of have to know. Does JG Tate know what he's talking about? Does Fred P. Bottoms know what he's talking about? I mean, you don't know. You just have to kind of know yourself. And that's tough. It can be tough. Let's see. Leif B says all the little papers in Kentucky are laying people off left and right. I think the Winchester paper doesn't actually have a sports writer anymore. I think you're right. They got bought by a group that manages several papers in that general vicinity. And so the people that I thought I would know there for the next 20 years they're all gone now because they all got laid off. And it stinks because the ones that I was tightest with, they don't have a job. They're just kind of rolling out there. And these are people that are good, man. They're really good. I love telling the story about Hobotten, though. I'm going to do that next show. Remind me to do that. The advertiser trying to strong arm me from Hobotten when I left. They were like, no, you got to give that to us. I was like, no, I don't. I do not have to give it to you. You guys told me to not do it, and you wouldn't pay for it. I registered that domain name. I came up with the domain name. You guys refused to pay for it. You guys told me I couldn't use company time to populate it. So, no, you have no say on that. And they eventually conceded the point. Gannett Corporate, threatening to sue me or whatever. I'm like, bring it. Come on, man. Boomja Boomja says 2% of the people, i.e. the most rabid 2%, making 98% of the noise. That's great. It's exactly what it is, man. But it is miserable. I think Twitter life is miserable. Like if I'm just hanging out on Twitter reading stuff, and I tend to go through like DJT's tweets just to kind of look at the replies. I know I shouldn't, but I do because I like to see what people say, and I know like 99% of the comments down there are just bullshit, right? It's not people making a case or anything. It's just their regular repercussive things that they say, Oh, Donald Trump is the worst human alive. And then you have people that say, can't wait to see you for your second term, President Trump, or whatever. And it's just, I just wish we could have like civil conversations about stuff. That's why I like Reddit. Now, I'm not on politics threads because I don't really care about politics, but on Reddit, people are generally civilized. Like I have not been called a dickhead on Twitter or a fuckface or whatever else. Like people are just normal. So I rather enjoy Reddit. In a bunker, I'm sure you guys are seeing the same thing. If we have any Power of Mizzou folks or Rebel Grovers, but it's getting very political. Everybody's kind of got their reflexive political positions, and it's hard to moderate the board. Moderating the board at this point is more art than science. I mean, because it's like, well, this guy said a politics thing. It's like, well, if it's a politics thread that's going off the rails and everybody's calling each other an asshole, like, I'm going to move that. But if it's a politics thread, and we don't have many of them, but we do have some, where it's a politics thread where people aren't devolving like that, and it's actually, we're kind of talking about it, I'm cool with that. Doesn't happen very often. And then you get the people that are like, how come you moved my thread? I'm like, because I moved it. Like, can we just move on? I did have to ban the War Eagle Kind today, then. Just being a dick. Ragging on Knotted Shorts, saying something about his wife. Don't bring wives into it. Just don't do it. Melee says Reddit is all 40-year-olds. Well, look at me. I'm in my 40s. The kids don't care about it. It's all TLDR. It definitely can get a little ponderous. Agreed. But, I mean, if I look on Reddit and I see one of these, I'm just letting it go. Unless it's like about Neal Peart or something. I mean, if it's about something that's right in my wheelhouse, then maybe I will read it. But Parler. Boomja Boomja says there's something called Parler. I'm not familiar with that, and I'll check it out. Write it down right now. Stoop Up says, I thought the Chabad was the best chat board I've been on as far as being civil. I really made a big deal about that. Really wanted those folks to be civil, and they were. We rarely had any trouble on there. And a few times we did, we just banned people. Yeah. I kind of miss Chabad in a way. Although a lot of the core Chabad folks are on their own board now. They have been for the whole time. They kind of, when Chabad went dead, they tried to go Auburn Authority a little bit, and it just wasn't the same. And so they started their own board, and it's like private. But they still do their thing over there. They're good folks. Really, really good folks. I give them a lot of credit for getting me going because it took a while. But they were really, really cool. And Stu, I know you're one of them. Corny says, why would anyone complain about moving a thread? It's funny to me too, man. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand why that would ever matter to somebody. Like, you move my thread. Like, if I delete your thread, maybe. But I very rarely delete threads. I usually just move them. And if I delete it, it's because there's just no redeeming value to the thread at all. Like, nothing. If 18 people call another person a fag in there, I'm not going to go through and clean all that up. I'm just going to delete it. If it's one post, sometimes I'll delete that one post and let it get back on track, or at least give it a chance. Stoop Up says, I wish folks remember there's a human being on the other end of the comment. I try to remember that when I post. Yeah. Auburn sports is just so big. I mean, we have thousands of subscribers, and Hobotton, I think at our peak we probably had, how many posters you think we had, Stu? Maybe 100, 150. So it really was kind of like a family. And interestingly, I mean, we do have a family from the Hobotton a guy and a girl who met on the Habotin, who are now married and doing their thing. But AuburnSports.com is just so big. I don't know as though we would ever feel like a family, despite what Doc would tell you. That's just so big. And there's people that love, like, when people get mad at me for whatever reason and they're pissed that I deleted their thread or whatever I did wrong, they're always like, you treat customers this way, you're not going to have any customers. And I always think to myself, okay, first of all, I didn't say anything about you or to you. Like, I moved your thread. Like, I haven't done anything to you. And maybe if you left the site, it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened. Like, if you're a guy who's just motherfucking people all the time, like, maybe we'd be okay without you. I don't know, maybe. I don't like turning away customers in the middle of a pandemic, believe me, but I mean, geez. You'd be amazed as how angry and personal these folks get for just stuff that wasn't angry and personal to start with. I don't take it personally usually. People want to say you suck, JG, or whatever. I mean, okay, I suck. I mean, no reporter anywhere is going to get 100% satisfaction index. It can't be done. I mean, you can be like the biggest homer in the world, and then you're going to have the people that are like, oh, he's a homer. And then 20% of people are going to hate him because he's a homer. So it's like, you can't win. All right. I think we'll wrap it up. I still got to put the show together. I like to have it out by 5, so it's 4:31 here in the Central Time Zone. Let's see. Boonja Boonja says, becoming conservative Twitter needs to be balanced out. Still working out the kinks and that many people on there, so not a lot of content yet. If some SEC writers were to join, could take off. Becoming conservative Twitter? I don't understand what that means. Balanced out. Oh, you're probably talking about Parler. Okay. All right. I don't know, man. I just get bothered by Twitter. But, I don't know. I just read DJT and the real O.J. Simpson, and those are the two that I just can't miss. I'm telling you, I don't care how many times O.J. Simpson tweets. When you got the first 5 people that say, hey, Twitter world, it's me, George Truly. Shit makes me laugh. The SpongeBob makes me laugh. Somebody says killer commentary makes me laugh. Like, it's just funny to me. I don't know why. It's just hilarious. I just love it every single time. Stupep says his best friend got him involved on the Hobotin years ago. You did call me out for saying I hope Ted Valentine would have a heart attack for screwing AU during basketball game at Bama. Yeah, that's bad, Stu. That's not good. But we've all said a few things that weren't quite up to par, me included. I don't remember what they were. I try to put them out of my head. All right, guys, we don't have a lot of viewers, and it's fine. I'm just babbling here for you guys. If there's 10 people, Still got some bourbon here, though. Got that white dog that Leif hooked me up with. Still waiting to pound that. At 125 proof, though. I got to be careful. Corny Mofo's making sure that I read Parler's terms. Sounds like there's something in those terms, Boonja Boonja, that may not be 100% happy in butterflies and rainbows. I have to check it out. All right, so I'm going to do this show. I'm going to put it together, put it up on the SoundCloud. I think it goes out to a lot of different places wherever you guys watch it. If you guys have watched the whole show, you're probably not going to want to read it anyway. But, whatever. None of this stuff that we talked about once I hung up with them is going to be on the show, though. But anyway, guys, for those of you who are going to be watching the Brain Drain on Saturday, I will see you guys then. If you're not, that's cool, too. But we do a live show beginning around 7-ish. We start anywhere from 7 to 7:20 on Saturday, depending on if I'm drinking. And then we just kind of go as long as we can go, as long as I can go. And I am hoping to get a surprise guest on for this week's show. We'll see if that goes down. That'd be sweet if it did. Be really sweet if you did. So, till we see you then, guys, keep it real. You guys are doing a hell of a job out there, every single one of you. And let's make good choices. It'd be awesome. All right, guys. See you.